The ethics deal the Clarity Act is waiting on just landed inside the White House, and the clock says 7 days. Sources tell journalist Eleanor Terrett the Tillis Gallego deal arrived Thursday morning. If you hold 5,000 XRP, about $5,000, Trump's White House now holds the pen. August 7th is the Senate's last scheduled floor day, then recess to September 11th. Who was on the phone to the White House? I'll show you all the calls. Like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you want more XRP news. Let's roll the first tape. The White House and President Trump have a massive role to play in getting the Clarity Act across the finish line, says Solana Institute CEO Miller Whitehouse Levine. Let's listen to the clip.
Well, I think the White House has a massive role to play here, and President Trump also has a huge role to play here because the administration has been trying to get this bill done. The issue has been elevated to the president, and I don't think that he would have agreed to anything last week if he were not inclined to get this bill done. It's a priority for him, and he's been saying that since day one. And I think the role that the White House really needs to play here as far as the Dems are concerned is securing a deal on ethics that both sides can live with, because the Dems have been quite clear for the last 18 months that is going to be necessary for them to support this legislation. We need to secure some sort of deal on ethics that both the White House, the president, and Democrats in the Senate can support to see this legislation move.
You'll see what physically moved Thursday. The proof, word for word. That voice was Miller Whitehouse Levine, the Solana Institute CEO on crypto in America. And his message, the White House and Trump carry a massive role in finishing the Clarity Act. Your XRP news today starts with why he said it now. I read Terrett's reporting myself. She reported the newest ethics proposal brokered by Senator Tom Tillis and Senator Ruben Gallego. One Republican, one Democrat was sent to the White House Thursday morning. The White House is reviewing the draft now. The Clarity Act is the law that sets clear American rules for XRP and the XRP ledger. Her post is on your screen now. Here's the delivery line. News. I'm hearing from a couple of sources off the Hill that the latest ethics proposal brokered by Senator Tom Tillis and Senator Ruben Gallego includes a role for state attorney generals, although it's still unclear what the full package looks like or what additional provisions have been added to address White House concerns. Separately, I'm told industry representatives spent much of yesterday making calls to the White House, making the case that reaching an ethics compromise is critical to getting the Clarity Act across the finish line. How the White House responds could go a long way towards determining whether the Senate votes towards moving with a vote towards the Clarity Act bill next week. Hold on, because what's inside the deal matters as much as where it sits. Terrett sources say the package includes a role for state attorney generals, each state's top law enforcement lawyer. What that role looks like exactly, her sources didn't spell out. Enforcement is the whole fight in crypto rules. Who gets to knock on a company's door? Now I'll give you the honest number attached to all of this. 7 days until the Senate's last scheduled floor date, August 7th. And her words, it's still unclear what the full package looks like, but unclear cuts both ways. And the people who want the Clarity Act done for XRP didn't sit and wait. Those calls all rang one phone, the building Miller Whitehouse Levine pointed at on camera. Their case in her reporting, reaching this ethics compromise is critical to getting the Clarity Act across the finish lines. Companies don't spend whole days dialing the White House over something optional. When the lobbying stops aiming at companies and starts aiming at one building, you're watching the endgame. So my question for you tonight, does the White House greenlight this ethics deal in time for a Senate vote next week? Drop yes or no in the comments, tap the like and subscribe and notification bell while you're down there. Now the calendar every one of those callers and every XRP holder is staring at. The Senate calendar shows its final scheduled date, August 7th, 7 days from tonight. After that comes the state work period, the recess, August 10th to September 11th. And hear the clock the way the office writing, and hear the way the clock, and hear the clock the way the officers writing this deal hear it. 7 days is not 7 chances. The Senate needs time to lock the final language and line up the floor. Every one of those steps eats days. That is why the delivery comes Thursday morning, and the phones ran the day before. This is the week the Clarity Act either reaches the floor or waits, recess to September 11th. Terrett's full post goes back on your screen, every word of it in proof. You'll know the answer early. One sentence tells you where to look. It's the closing line of Terrett's posts, and for XRP holders, it's the whole ballgame. She writes that how the White House responds could go a long way toward determining whether the Senate moves towards with a vote next week, not someday, next week. That's as close to a date as XRP news gets, and it's on your screen. One thing I'd love to check out is here on the official White House website. President Trump is strengthening American leadership in digital financial technology. The American story is one of innovation, from the railroads that link sea to shining sea, the internet that connected the entire world. American entrepreneurs have led the next generation of technologies. Even here, we can see the full contents of the overall report, strengthening American leadership in digital financial technologies. And this is really exactly where Ripple, RLUSD, XRP Ledger, and XRP itself come into play. So really having a crypto positive president is super positive to see, especially since Ripple is a US company. And that would be really, really good for the overall XRP price if we can have some great partnership between the White House, between the president, and between US crypto companies. Some more news I want to cover in the XRP space. We saw ETF flows. Bitcoin, Solana, and XRP spot ETFs saw net inflows on July 30th. XRP nearly $6 million. We've also seen Avia Investors launched a tokenized share class of its US dollar liquidity fund on the XRP ledger after winning approval from the Central Bank of Ireland. And a major update, a fake staking site impersonating Flare Network stole $8.5 million in XRP from 71 investors over 8 days. They have over $18 million traced through linked wallets. So always be careful where you're sending XRP, who you're sending XRP to, and ensuring it is the true site and not a fake impersonating site. So here's where I land tonight with the live XRP chart on your screen. The XRP price sits at $1.07, about flat on the day, steady while all of this moved. Between tonight and Monday, I'm watching two things: any word out of the White House on the deal, and whether the Clarity Act gets a name date on next week's Senate schedule. The moment either moves, this stops being a countdown and becomes a date. Now the full board, plain as I can say it. The ethics steel industry calls critical to finishing the Clarity Act in writing and delivered. It sits inside the White House tonight. A Republican and a Democrat build it together. That is what a deal built to pass looks like. Terrett has told the industry they've spent a full day on the phones telling the White House it's critical. The reporter closest to the story says the response could go a long way toward the Senate vote next week. With the recess 10 days out, and through every hour over, XRP holders did what XRP holders do. They held, and the XRP price didn't blink either. My read, pressure like this does not build around a no. XRP is one answer away from the vote week her sources are pointing at. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video.